A billionaire married a fat girl for a bet of $5 million, but her transformation shocked him. Before I start, for stories like this, subscribe to my YouTube channel. The Manhattan skyline glittered like a diamond belt outside Taylor King's penthouse window. Dude was 35, richer than sin, and standing there with a glass of top-shelf whiskey like he owned the whole city. And honestly, he kinda did. Taylor wasn't just a businessman. He was a shark in a $1,000 suit. Every deal, every merger, every win had built his empire higher. Money, women, power, all of it came easy. He lived life like it was a game. And spoiler alert, he never lost. That night, his place was jam-packed with New York's elite. Champagne popped, laughter bounced off marble floors, and Taylor drifted through it all like a king surveying his kingdom. Until he showed up. "Taylor, my man." Eric White's voice cut through the noise like a shot of cold air. His oldest friend, his fiercest rival. The only guy ballsy enough to push Taylor's buttons without getting burned. Eric had that grin, the kind that screamed trouble. "You and I," Eric said, swirling his drink. "We've competed in everything. Business, sports, women." Taylor smirked. "And I've smoked you in most of those." "Most," Eric said with a smirk of his own. "But I got something you can't win." The crowd around them quieted like someone had dropped the volume. Taylor tilted his head. "Try me." Eric leaned in. "Bet you can't marry a woman who's not your type. Someone real. Someone who wouldn't care if you drove a Bugatti or a busted Honda. And you gotta stay married for 6 whole months." Taylor laughed. "That's your big challenge. Marriage?" "Real marriage," Eric said. "Same bed, same roof, same life. No running when it gets tough." Taylor's eyes narrowed. "And what do I win?" Eric flashed his phone screen. The number made Taylor blink. $5 million. The room gasped. Taylor chuckled, the sound low and cocky. $5 mil? That's pocket change, but bragging rights? Yeah, I'll take that. And if you bail," Eric said, "everyone here'll know Taylor King finally met a challenge he couldn't handle." Taylor lifted his glass, his grin razor sharp. "You've got yourself a deal." Eric's grin widened. "Perfect. I already got someone in mind." Taylor arched a brow. "Oh yeah? Who's the unlucky lady?" Eric smirked. "Her name's Maya Brown." And just like that, the game was on. A game that was about to flip Taylor King's world upside down. What Taylor didn't know was that this bet was about to cost him way more than money. It was about to change his heart. 3 days after that wild bet, Taylor sat in an upscale cafe downtown, the kind where cappuccinos cost more than a tank of gas. He checked his Rolex for the 3rd time, bored out of his mind. Eric had sent him a single photo and a name. Maya Brown. She wasn't his usual type. No designer dress, no Instagram filters, just this soft smile and warm brown eyes that looked real. She had curves, confidence, and something else Taylor couldn't put his finger on. But to him, this was business. He'd handled tougher negotiations. Then the cafe door opened, and in walked Maya. She wasn't flashy, but she had presence. Wore a simple gray dress, hair up in a bun, no nonsense. She spotted him immediately, and instead of waiting for him to stand, she walked straight up, extended her hand, and said, "You must be Taylor King." Her handshake? Firm. No hesitation. No flirty giggle, no, "Oh my God, you're the Taylor King." Just calm confidence. It threw him off his game. And that didn't happen often. "And you must be Maya Brown," he replied smoothly. She sat down, eyes studying him like she was reading between the lines of a book she already knew the ending to. "Let's skip the small talk," Maya said, folding her hands. "I know about the bet." Taylor froze. "You... what?" I know Eric challenged you to marry someone who doesn't fit your usual type, and I know you said yes because your ego won't let you say no. Her tone wasn't angry, just honest. Brutally honest. Taylor leaned back, half amused, half impressed. Eric told you everything. More than you'd think, she said. He thought I'd refuse. And yet you're here, Taylor said, intrigued. Why? Maya's eyes softened, but there was something guarded there, like she was carrying a story she didn't plan to share. Let's just say, I've got my reasons. Personal ones. He nodded. Fair enough. So, what's your deal? I'll do this, she said, under one condition. I want respect. I don't care about your money or your lifestyle. I just want space, honesty, and for you not to try to change me. I'm not one of your projects, Mr. King. Taylor smirked, though something about her fire unsettled him. You've got yourself a deal, Mrs. Almost King. Maya leaned forward. Don't get cute, Taylor. This might be a game for you, but for me it's 6 months of my life. Don't make me regret it. Taylor chuckled, but deep down, something shifted. Maybe curiosity, maybe guilt. What Taylor didn't know was that behind Maya's calm smile was a secret big enough to break his cold, billionaire heart. A week later, Taylor King found himself sitting in his lawyer's office across from Maya Brown, the woman who was about to become his wife for 6 months. Yeah, 6 months. He'd signed multi-million-dollar contracts with less hesitation, but this one felt different. Maya was cool as ice. She read every page of the prenup like a pro, asked sharp questions, and didn't blink once when the pen hit the paper. No tears, no nervous giggles, no what-ifs. Just pure confidence. Taylor couldn't decide if that made her fascinating or infuriating. Yes, that's it, he said, standing. We're getting married next week. Courthouse ceremony. Simple, fast, efficient. Maya arched a brow. Of course. You'd probably schedule your own wedding between conference calls. Taylor smirked. Efficiency's a virtue, sweetheart. She gave him a look so sharp it could have sliced through his ego. Don't call me sweetheart. Not unless you mean it. That shut him up quick. 1 week later, it was go time. The courthouse was small, the air thick with awkward silence. Taylor wore a slick custom suit. Maya wore a plain white dress that somehow made her look timeless. Eric stood nearby, grinning like the devil who'd just signed a soul contract. The judge said the words. They both said, I do, and just like that. Taylor King, New York's most eligible bachelor, was officially off the market for 6 months. No kiss, no flowers, no happily ever after. Just paperwork and a quiet promise neither of them understood yet. After the ceremony, Taylor drove Maya to his penthouse, his kingdom. The elevator doors opened to marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, and designer everything. It screamed money, power, control. Welcome home, he said. Maya took it all in, calm and unimpressed. It's very you. Taylor raised a brow. That a compliment. An observation, she shot back. He led her to a guest suite, her space for the next half year. It had a balcony view, luxury decor, all the works. She paused in the doorway, her voice steady but serious. 6 months, Taylor, not a day more. He nodded, though something about the way she said it felt heavier than a contract. As the door closed behind her, Taylor leaned against the wall, wondering what he'd just signed himself up for. He thought he was playing the game, but somehow it already felt like the game was playing him. Taylor didn't know it yet, but that quiet woman down the hall was about to challenge everything he thought he knew about life, love, and control. The first few weeks of marriage felt like a cold war set inside a luxury penthouse. Taylor figured Maya would eventually warm up. Most people did. He'd charm her, spoil her, win her over just like every other woman who'd crossed his orbit. But Maya, she was a whole different playbook. She woke up early, hid her job at the community center, came home late, ate simple dinners, and disappeared into her side of the house. No drama, no affection, no curiosity about his world. She was polite but distant, like she'd built a 6-month-long force field around her. One morning over coffee, Taylor leaned back in his chair trying to bridge the gap. You know, you don't gotta work anymore. Have enough cash to keep us both set for life. Maya didn't even look up. I don't work because I have to. I work because it matters. She sipped her coffee, calm and unbothered. You should try it sometime, doing something that matters. That hit him harder than it should. No one talked to Taylor King like that. But instead of snapping, he found himself thinking about it. Over the next few days, little things started bugging him. She skipped meals. She got dizzy sometimes. Once he caught her clutching the counter like she was fighting to stay upright. When he asked if she was okay, she brushed him off with that same quiet smile. Just tired, Taylor. Don't worry about it. But he did worry. Against every instinct, he started paying attention to her. The way her eyes softened when she talked about her job. The way she laughed quietly at her own mistakes. The way she refused every gift he offered but thanked him anyway. Like kindness still meant something to her even when money didn't. Late one night, Taylor passed by her door and heard her voice, soft, low, almost breaking. She was on the phone. I'm fine, Mom. I'm taking my meds, okay? He doesn't know. It's only 6 months. Then everything goes back to normal. Taylor froze. Meds. His gut twisted. He wanted to burst in, demand answers. But for once, he didn't. He just stood there, realizing he didn't know this woman at all. Back in his room, he stared out at the city that had always made him feel powerful. For the first time, it looked small. Taylor had built his empire by uncovering everyone's secrets, but the one secret hiding in his own penthouse was about to destroy his perfect control. Taylor King was a man who never liked being out of the loop. Secrets, lies, those were things other people got tangled in. Not him. But now, for the first time, he was living with someone who didn't play by his rules. Maya Brown was quiet, kind, and sharp as hell, and she was hiding something. He couldn't stop replaying what he'd overheard that night. I'm taking my meds. He doesn't know. The words crawled under his skin. Medication for what? Anxiety? Depression? Something worse? The next morning he tried to act normal. She was in the kitchen, making her usual simple breakfast, eggs, toast, black coffee. No sugar, no cream. He leaned against the counter, watching her. You sleep okay? He asked casually. She looked up, eyes cautious. Yeah, you? Didn't sleep much. He sipped his coffee, letting the silence stretch. Maya, you're not sick or anything, right? Her hands froze mid-motion. Just for a second. Then she forced a small smile. Why would you ask that? I don't know, Taylor lied. You've been skipping meals, getting lightheaded. You're not exactly giving off healthy and thriving vibes. She turned, leaning on the counter. Taylor, I told you before, don't try to manage me. This marriage is a deal, not a diagnosis. You don't need to worry about me. Her voice was calm, but her eyes, those warm brown eyes, were filled with something he'd never seen before. Fear. Taylor wanted to push, to demand the truth, but he didn't. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was the way she looked like she'd spent her whole life fighting battles no one saw. Days passed, and the tension grew thicker than New York traffic. They argued over small things. What she wore, what she ate, whether she'd go to one of his charity events. You don't get it, she said one night, her voice breaking through the silence. You live in a world where everything's a transaction. You think love, respect, even people can be bought. But life doesn't work like that, Taylor. Not everything has a price tag. He stared at her, stunned. No one had ever said that to him before. And deep down, he knew she was right. That night, he didn't sleep again. Instead, he stood at the window, staring at the glittering skyline that had once made him feel invincible. For the first time in his life, he felt powerless. What Taylor didn't realize was that his wife's secret wasn't just about her health. It was about to rewrite everything he believed about winning, losing, and love itself. 3 months into their marriage, and Taylor was itching for control again. The deal had started to mess with his head. He told himself he didn't care, that this was still just about the $5 million and bragging rights. But deep down, something was shifting, and he hated it. He'd invited Maya to a big charity gala. Correction, insisted. It wasn't optional. These events were his playground, and he needed her there. Image was everything. Maya didn't fight him this time. She showed up in a simple blue dress she'd pulled from the back of her closet. Not designer, not flashy, but somehow she looked breathtaking. Taylor caught himself staring more than once. When they arrived, the room glittered with Manhattan's finest. Influencers, investors, gold diggers, and wannabes all blended together under chandeliers worth more than most houses. Taylor did his usual thing, shaking hands, smiling for photos, making deals between champagne sips. Maya stayed close but quiet, watching the chaos like an outsider who saw right through it. Then came the whispers. Near the bar, a group of socialites giggled, their voices just loud enough to sting. "That's Taylor King's wife. I heard it was a dare or something. Look at her. She's huge. Money can't buy taste, huh?" The laughter hit like a slap. Taylor froze mid-sentence, rage bubbling in his chest. Before he could move, he saw Maya's face, calm, but her eyes betrayed the hurt. She set her champagne glass down slowly and whispered, "Excuse me." But Taylor grabbed her hand. "No, don't give them that satisfaction." He turned, his voice slicing through the chatter like a blade. "Ladies," he said, loud enough for the room to go silent. I couldn't help overhearing. "So, let me make something crystal clear." He pulled Maya close, his arm around her waist. "This woman right here, she's worth more than every person in this room combined. She doesn't need your designer labels or your fake compliments. She's real. And that's something money can't buy." You could have heard a pin drop. The women's faces went pale, and Maya just stared at him, shocked, touched, confused. Taylor turned to her softly. "We're leaving." They walked out hand in hand, the whispers behind them fading into nothing. In the car, silence hung heavy. Maya finally said, "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did," Taylor said quietly. "No one disrespects my wife." Her voice dropped. "Your wife for 6 months, remember?" Taylor glanced at her, his chest tightening. For the first time ever, he wasn't sure 6 months would be enough. Taylor King, the man who swore he'd never fall, just realized he was halfway down. And Maya Brown was the reason he couldn't stop. The night after the gala hit Taylor harder than he expected. He couldn't shake the image of Maya walking out of that ballroom, head high, eyes shining with hurt she tried to hide. For the first time, defending her hadn't felt like a performance. It felt right. They didn't talk much on the ride home. Maya stared out the window, the city lights flashing across her face. Taylor stole glances, trying to read her expression, but she was locked up tight. When they stepped into the penthouse, everything felt different. The silence wasn't cold anymore. It was heavy. Real deal. Taylor opened his mouth to say something, but before the words came, Maya stumbled. Just one step, then another, and suddenly her body went limp. "Maya!" He lunged forward, catching her just before she hit the floor. Panic tore through him. Her skin was cold, her breathing shallow. He shook her gently, voice cracking. "Maya, hey, look at me. Come on, baby, wake up." Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Just a broken breath. Taylor's hands were shaking as he grabbed his phone. 911. I need an ambulance. Now! My wife collapsed. King Tower penthouse. He stayed on the line, holding her tight on the floor, whispering, "You're okay. You're okay. I got you." The sirens felt like forever away. When the paramedics finally burst through the door, Taylor refused to let go. "I'm riding with her," he said. "Are you family?" one of them asked. He didn't even hesitate. "I'm her husband." And for the first time, those words hit different. Because now, they were true. The ambulance tore through Manhattan, lights flashing across glass and concrete. Taylor sat beside Maya, gripping her hand, praying, something he hadn't done in years. At the hospital, they rushed her through double doors, and he was left alone in a hallway that suddenly felt colder than winter. He called Eric, called everyone he could think of, but nothing made the silence stop. Minutes felt like hours until a doctor finally appeared. "Mr. King?" she asked gently. "I'm Dr. Grace Lee. Your wife's stable now, but we need to talk about her condition." Taylor's blood ran cold. "Condition?" Dr. Lee sighed, folding her arms. "Were you aware that Maya's been battling serious health issues?" Taylor shook his head slowly, dread building in his chest. "No," he said. "I wasn't. What's going on?" The truth Dr. Lee was about to drop would break Taylor's heart and make him realize this bed had never been a game at all. Dr. Grace Lee guided Taylor to a quiet corner of the hospital hallway. The sharp smell of antiseptic mixed with the cold buzz of fluorescent lights. Taylor's chest was tight. He wasn't used to feeling powerless, but right now, he'd trade every dollar he had just to see Maya open her eyes again. "Mr. King," Dr. Lee started gently, "your wife's stable now, but she's been dealing with serious health complications for a while." Taylor blinked, confused. "Health complications? She never told me anything about that." The doctor sighed, glancing down at her clipboard. "Maya has severe hypertension and early-stage heart disease. Her heart's been under strain for months, likely years. Her condition's manageable, but it's dangerous if untreated. Stress, lack of rest, poor diet, any of those could make it worse." Taylor just stood there, staring at her like she'd spoken another language. "You're saying she knew?" "Yes," Dr. Lee said. "According to her records, she was diagnosed about 8 months ago." 8 months. That was before the bet. Before their sham of a marriage. Before she walked into that cafe with those steady eyes that hid everything. He dropped into the nearest chair, the weight of it all hitting him like a sucker punch. She'd known she was sick. She'd known, and she'd still agreed to this fake marriage. "Can I see her?" he asked quietly. "She's awake," Dr. Lee said with a soft smile. Room 412. He didn't remember the walk there. Didn't remember the elevator, the hallway, the nurses. He just knew that when he opened the door and saw her, pale, small, hooked up to monitors, something inside him cracked wide open. Maya looked up, weak, but smiling. "Hey," she whispered. "Guess the secret's out." Taylor's voice was barely a whisper. "Why didn't you tell me?" Maya looked away, eyes glistening. "Would it have mattered? You married me for a bet, remember? 6 months and done. My health wasn't part of the deal." He swallowed hard. "Don't do that, Maya. Don't act like you're just a contract. You could have told me." She shook her head slowly. "No, because then you'd treat me different. You'd feel sorry for me. And that's the one thing I don't want from you, Taylor King." He reached out, took her hand, and didn't let go. "It's not pity," he said. "It's something else. something I don't even know how to name yet. Her eyes softened, a single tear sliding down her cheek. Taylor thought he'd made a bet for $5 million, but now he realized I'd gambled with something way bigger. His heart. The hospital room was quiet except for the steady beep of Maya's heart monitor. Taylor sat beside her bed, elbows on his knees, staring at her hand in his. For once, the man who always had something to say didn't. Maya looked tired, her brown eyes soft but guarded. "You're staring," she murmured, trying to lighten the air. "Yeah," Taylor said, his voice rough. Trying to figure out how someone so damn strong could keep all this to herself. She gave a weak laugh. "Strong? You don't know me, Taylor." "Then tell me," he said. "Tell me everything. No more secrets." For a long second, Maya just stared at him, like deciding whether he deserved the truth. Finally, she sighed and looked away, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was diagnosed 8 months ago. High blood pressure. Heart disease. The doctor said if I didn't change everything, I might have 5 years left, maybe less." Taylor's jaw tightened, his chest burning. "Why didn't you tell anyone? Why didn't you tell me?" She shrugged, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Because I didn't want to be anyone's burden. People look at you different when you're sick. They stop seeing you and start seeing your expiration date." "Maya," he started, but she shook her head. "When Eric told me about the bed," she continued, "I thought it was ridiculous. But then I realized something. I didn't have much to lose. I was tired, Taylor. Tired of being strong, tired of fighting alone. So I said yes." He blinked, stunned. "You married me because you were tired?" "I married you," she said, meeting his eyes, "because I wanted to feel like someone cared. Even if it was fake, I wanted to know what it felt like to come home to someone, to laugh, to not feel invisible, even if it was just for 6 months. Taylor's throat tightened. "You think what I feel for you is fake?" Maya smiled faintly. "You don't feel anything for me, Taylor. You feel guilty. There's a difference." But Taylor didn't buy that. Not anymore. He reached up, brushing a tear from her cheek. "Maybe you're wrong," he said softly. "Maybe somewhere along the way I started giving a damn, and I don't plan on stopping." For the first time, Maya didn't have a comeback. She just looked at him, really looked, like she couldn't decide whether to believe him or not. Taylor had spent his life buying everything he wanted, but for the first time, the one thing he wanted couldn't be bought, saved, or bargained for: Maya's trust. Taylor King had spent years fixing problems with a signature and a wire transfer. Money had always been the answer. But sitting there beside Maya's hospital bed, holding her trembling hand, he realized cash couldn't buy what she needed most. When Dr. Lee came back the next morning with a treatment plan, strict diet, exercise, medication, lifestyle changes, Taylor didn't hesitate. "We'll do whatever it takes," he said, voice steady. "We?" Maya asked weakly. "Yeah," he said, locking eyes with her. "You're not doing this alone." She looked at him for a long moment, then shook her head. "Taylor, you don't have to play hero. You signed up for 6 months, not a lifetime of babysitting." He leaned forward, his tone softer than she'd ever heard it. "I'm not babysitting. I'm showing up, for once." That shut her up. Later that day, when the nurses cleared her for discharge, Taylor already had a plan brewing. He canceled meetings, shifted deals, told his assistants to handle it. For a guy used to controlling everything, letting go of business felt weirdly freeing. Back at the penthouse, Maya was stunned. The fridge that once held imported champagne and caviar was now stocked with greens, lean protein, and protein shakes. A nutritionist and a trainer were scheduled to visit. Her eyebrows shot up. "What is all this?" Taylor shrugged like it was nothing. "Mission save Maya. I'm in it with you." "Taylor." "Nope." He cut her off. We start tomorrow. Sunrise walk in Central Park. I'm not taking no for an answer. She stared at him, caught somewhere between disbelief and a smile. You, Mr. King, walking at sunrise. You hate mornings. Guess I've got a reason to like him now. The next morning, the alarm blared at 5:30 a.m. Taylor groaned, but when he saw Maya already lacing her sneakers, determination in her eyes, something inside him lit up. They walked slow, one step at a time. She got winded quick, but he didn't care. He matched her pace, cracked dumb jokes, kept her laughing even when she wanted to quit. I can't do this, she panted halfway through. Yeah, you can, he said, gripping her hands. You've faced worse. This is nothing. We do it together. Maya blinked at him, surprise softening her face. Why, Taylor? Why are you really doing this? He smiled, breath visible in the cold air. Because Maya Brown, somewhere along the way you stopped being a bet. She froze, her heart beat louder than the city traffic. Maya thought she was just fighting for her life, but she didn't know Taylor was about to fight for her heart, too. The first few mornings nearly killed them both. Maya hated the cold. Taylor hated being awake before sunrise. But every day, they laced up their sneakers and hit the park. Central Park at dawn was a different world. Quiet, soft light spilling through the trees, joggers passing with coffee cups in hand. It wasn't the boardroom or the penthouse. It was real life. At first, Maya could barely make it around one loop before gasping for breath. I can't, Taylor, she'd mumble, slowing to a stop. You can, he'd say, his tone firm but warm. You just don't believe it yet. He slowed his stride to match hers, cracking jokes when she got frustrated. He even learned how to make green smoothies, though he cursed the taste every single morning. They laughed more than they argued now, and every time she smiled, something in Taylor's chest ached in the best way. One morning after a walk, Maya dropped onto a park bench, exhausted. Taylor sat beside her, handing over a bottle of water. You killed it today. Looked like a pro out there. She snorted. Please, I almost passed out by the fountain. He chuckled. Yeah, but you didn't. That's progress. Maya tilted her head, studying him. You're different lately, she said softly. Less, I don't know, robotic billionaire. What happened to the guy who thought emotions were bad for business? Taylor smiled faintly. He met someone who didn't care about his business. Her eyes locked on his. For a second, neither of them said a word. The city noise faded. The air between them changed, thicker, heavier, but in a way that felt right. Maya finally looked away, her voice shaky. Don't say things you don't mean. I don't, he said simply. I mean every damn word. That night, back at the penthouse, they cooked dinner together for the first time. Taylor burned the chicken. Maya laughed so hard she nearly cried. The sound filled the house like sunlight. When they finally sat down to eat, salvaged vegetables and all, Maya looked across the table and whispered, You really are trying, huh? Taylor nodded. I told you, I'm in this for real. Not for the bet, not for the money, for you. She didn't answer, but her eyes said enough. Taylor thought falling in love would feel like victory, but with Maya it felt terrifying, because this time, losing her would mean losing everything. By the fourth month, everything about their lives had shifted. The penthouse that once echoed with emptiness now smelled like home-cooked meals, sounded like laughter, and felt alive. Taylor didn't even recognize himself anymore. He'd traded 12-hour meetings for morning jogs and quiet nights with Maya. He found out she loved old-school movies and hated avocado toast. He learned she snorted when she laughed too hard, and he loved every bit of it. But something else had changed too. Maya was glowing. Her cheeks had color again, her steps were lighter, and the doctor's reports were finally showing progress. She'd lost weight, sure, but what really stood out was the spark in her eyes. "See," Taylor said one morning, tossing her a towel after their workout. "Told you we'd get there." Maya smiled, wiping sweat from her forehead. "I couldn't have done it without you." He smirked. "You could have. You just didn't want to admit it." "Maybe," she teased, rolling her eyes. But that night, things took a turn. Taylor came home early from a meeting to find her on the balcony, gripping the railing. Her face was pale, her breathing sharp. "Maya!" He rushed over. "What's wrong?" She tried to wave him off. "It's nothing. I just stood up too fast." "Don't lie to me," he said softly, his hands on her shoulders. Her eyes flickered with guilt. "I'm fine, Taylor. Please, just don't make a big deal out of it." But it was a big deal. That night, he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her swaying on that balcony, fragile in a way she'd never seemed before. He'd built empires, outsmarted rivals, survived everything life threw at him, but the idea of losing her scared him more than anything ever had. The next morning, he called Dr. Lee behind her back. "I need to know everything about Maya's condition," he demanded. "Mr. King," the doctor said calmly, "you're already doing everything right. Support, structured care. It's what she needs most. But she's still healing. Push too hard and it could backfire." Taylor hung up, running a hand through his hair. For the first time in his life, he realized love wasn't about control. It was about showing up, even when you couldn't fix it. That night, when Maya caught him watching her a little too closely at dinner, she smirked. "You worried too much." He smiled back. "And you make it impossible not to." But what Taylor didn't know was that Maya's strength was wearing thin again, and the next time she fell, it wouldn't be so easy to get back up. It happened on a Thursday. Taylor had spent the morning at a business meeting he couldn't focus on. His mind wasn't on numbers or contracts. It was on Maya. He'd left her that morning smiling, saying she'd spend the day at the community center. But something in her eyes had looked tired. When he walked into the penthouse that evening, the place was quiet. Too quiet. "Maya," he called out, loosening his tie. No answer. He walked through the living room, then the hallway, and that's when he saw her. She was lying on the floor near the kitchen, one hand clutching her chest, the other reaching weakly for the counter. "Maya!" He dropped to his knees, heart hammering as he lifted her head into his lap. Her skin was cold, her breathing uneven. Her eyes flickered open for half a second. "Taylor," she whispered. "Don't talk, baby. Just breathe, okay?" "I got you," he said, voice shaking. He called 911 so fast he barely remembered punching the numbers. His heart was slamming in his chest like it was trying to break free. The operator's calm voice felt miles away. When the paramedics arrived, Taylor didn't let go of her hand. "She's my wife," he said, his voice fierce. "I'm going with her." The ride to the hospital was a blur of sirens and flashing lights. He sat there watching the woman he'd once married for a bit, terrified at the thought of losing her for real. When they wheeled her away, he stayed rooted in that cold hallway, every ounce of his confidence gone. His hands were still shaking when Eric showed up. "Man, what happened?" Eric asked, panting, out of breath from rushing. Taylor swallowed hard. "She collapsed again. The doctor said it's her heart." Eric put a hand on his shoulder. "You love her, don't you?" Taylor didn't answer. He didn't have to. The pain in his eyes said it all. Hours passed before Dr. Lee came out, still in her scrubs. "Mr. King, she's stable, for now. But her heart's under a lot of pressure. You need to prepare yourself. These next few weeks will be critical." Taylor nodded numbly. "Just tell me what I have to do." Dr. Lee smiled gently. Love her. Be there. That's the medicine she needs most. When Taylor walked into her room, Maya was asleep, tubes and monitors surrounding her. He sat down, took her hand, and whispered, I swear to God, I'm not losing you. Not like this. What Taylor didn't know was that this scare wasn't the end. It was the beginning of the fight that would test every ounce of love he had left. Taylor King had faced hostile takeovers, lawsuits, and billion-dollar losses without flinching, but nothing, compared to sitting in that hospital room watching Maya breathe through tubes and wires. He barely moved for hours. He didn't eat, didn't sleep, just sat there in that stiff chair, holding her hand like it was the last thing tethering him to reality. Every time her heart monitor beeped steady, he thanked whatever higher power was listening. When Maya finally woke, her eyes fluttered open to the sight of him, disheveled, eyes red, wearing the same suit from the day before. Taylor, she whispered, her voice small. He leaned forward, relief flooding through him. Hey, you're awake. What are you still doing here? He let out a humorless laugh. Where else would I go? You've got a company to run. I've got a wife to take care of, he said firmly. Everything else can wait. She blinked up at him, clearly stunned. The cocky billionaire who never stopped moving was sitting still, for her. Dr. Lee came in not long after, checking vitals, explaining things in that calm, doctor way that somehow made everything sound worse. Maya's condition is improving, but slowly, she said. Stress and overexertion are dangerous for her right now. The next step is building a sustainable routine. Taylor nodded. Whatever it takes, I'll make it happen. When the doctor left, Maya turned to him, her tone soft but skeptical. You can't just throw money at this, Taylor. It's not another deal you can close. He reached out, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. I know, he said quietly. For once, I'm not trying to buy my way out. I'm trying to be here. Her eyes softened, tears threatening. Why? He hesitated, searching for the right words. Because somewhere along the line, I stopped playing a game. I stopped seeing you as a bet and started seeing you as the best thing that's ever happened to me. Maya's lips trembled. You can't say that just because you're scared of losing me. I'm saying it because it's true. Silence hung between them, thick with emotion. Taylor reached out, gently pressing her hand against his chest. Feel that? He whispered. That's me, Maya. The guy who thought he didn't have a heart until you walked in. Her tears fell freely this time. But while love had finally found its voice, fate wasn't done testing them, and the biggest challenge was yet to come. 3 days later, the hospital finally cleared Maya to go home. She was pale and weak, but her spirit still strong. The doctor had laid out strict orders: medication, light exercise, clean eating, and no stress. Taylor took those orders like gospel. By the time Maya stepped back into the penthouse, it looked nothing like the marble museum it used to be. The liquor cabinet was gone, replaced by shelves of cookbooks and vitamins. The fridge was packed with lean meats, veggies, and enough fruit to open a farmer's market. Maya blinked in surprise. What happened here? Taylor grinned. Welcome to King's Wellness Center. Membership, just you. She shook her head, laughing softly. You're impossible. Correction, he said, slipping off his jacket and rolling up his sleeves. I'm dedicated. He even hired a nutritionist and a personal trainer, though had made one condition clear. They work with us, not for us. I'm doing this too. And he meant it. Every single morning, 5:30 a.m. sharp, Taylor was up before sunrise, sneakers laced, waiting by the door. They started with short walks, just a few blocks at first. Maya complained. A lot. But she never quit. And he never let her walk alone. He made it his mission to make her laugh, to turn every small victory into something worth celebrating. When she made it through her first week without fatigue, he threw her a mini miracle dinner. Grilled salmon, sparkling water, and a candle he swore cost $100. It didn't. Between workouts and meal preps, their connection deepened. The awkwardness that once filled the penthouse faded. They moved around each other like they'd been doing it forever. Taylor learned to cook, badly, at first, and Maya learned to let him try. One evening, after dinner, they sat out on the balcony watching the city lights flicker below. Taylor broke the silence first. "You ever think about how crazy this all is?" Maya smiled faintly. "Crazy how?" $5 million in a stupid bet," he said, shaking his head. "And now, this." She looked at him, her expression soft. Maybe it wasn't a bet. Maybe it was destiny wearing a bad disguise. He turned toward her, the city glowing behind them. "If that's true, then I'm not letting destiny down." Maya smiled, leaning her head against his shoulder. "Good. Because I'm finally starting to feel alive again." But just when Taylor thought life was finally steady, one moment would remind him that healing wasn't a straight line, and love wasn't either. For a while, things actually felt good. Taylor and Maya found a rhythm that worked. Morning walks, healthy meals, quiet nights. The penthouse, once sterile and lonely, now felt alive. Taylor was proud of her progress, proud of them. But Maya wasn't one to sit still. Even though the doctor had said to take it slow, she started pushing harder. "I feel stronger every day," she said one morning, brushing off his concern. "I can handle a little more." Taylor frowned. "Maya, the doc said no overdoing it." She smiled, that confident grin he loved, and feared at the same time. "You are one to talk, Mr. Overachiever." At first, he let it slide. But she started working longer hours at the community center again, skipping lunches, staying late, ignoring her own limits. When she got home, she looked drained, her hands trembling slightly when she reached for a glass of water. "You're pushing too hard," he warned one night. "I'm fine," she said quickly, forcing a smile. "Maya, I can see you're not fine." She sighed, setting down her cup. "Taylor, those families at the center need me. You think I can just walk away because my heart's being dramatic? It's not drama, it's your life." His voice cracked louder than he meant it to. "You scare the hell out of me, you know that?" That stopped her. Her face softened. "You care that much?" Taylor exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. "Yeah, too damn much." For a moment she just stared at him, like she didn't know what to do with that kind of honesty. Then she whispered, "I'm sorry." He reached out and pulled her close, feeling how fragile she was in his arms. "Just promise me you'll slow down, please." She nodded against his chest. "Okay, I promise." But promises were easy to make and hard to keep. A week later, Taylor came home early to find her sitting on the couch, pale and sweating. Her breathing was shallow, her hands trembling. "Maya!" He rushed to her side. She looked up weakly, trying to smile. "I'm okay, just dizzy." "You're not okay," he said, panic rising. "That's it. We're going back to Dr. Lee. No arguments." She nodded, too tired to fight this time. As he scooped her into his arms, he realized something gut-deep and terrifying. He couldn't imagine a world without her in it. What neither of them knew was that this trip to the hospital would change everything, because this time, the news wouldn't break them. It would save them. The ride to the hospital was dead silent except for the sound of Taylor's heartbeat pounding in his ears. He kept glancing at Maya, trying to stay calm, but her pale face made that impossible. By the time they reached the ER, he was a mess of panic and guilt. He hated hospitals. The smell, the waiting, the helplessness. But what he hated most was feeling like he'd failed her. When Dr. Grace Lee walked in, Taylor jumped to his feet. "Please tell me she's okay." Dr. Lee held up her hands. "She's going to be fine, Mr. King. Take a breath." He blinked. "Fine." "Yes," the doctor said, smiling for the first time in months. She didn't collapse from heart failure or hypertension this time. It was exhaustion and low blood sugar. We ran full tests. Her blood pressure, way better heart function, up by nearly 30%. Her labs show major improvement across the board. Taylor stared at her, the words barely sinking in. "Wait, you're saying she's better?" Dr. Lee nodded. "Much better. Whatever she's been doing, it's working." Taylor turned toward Maya, who was lying on the hospital bed looking shocked and fragile and beautiful all at once. "You hear that?" he whispered. "You're getting stronger." She blinked fast, tears spilling down her cheeks. I thought something was wrong again." He shook his head, grinning through his own tears. "You scared me half to death, but for once, it's good news." Dr. Lee smiled. "Keep up the routine. Keep taking her meds and don't push too hard." "But yes, Maya, things are finally turning around." After the doctor left, Taylor sat beside her bed, still dazed. "You're killing it, Maya. Literally kicking this disease's ass." Maya laughed weakly, wiping her eyes. "Guess I just needed the world's most annoying trainer." "Annoying," he scoffed. "I'm the reason you're not eating donuts for breakfast." She smirked. "You mean the reason my breakfast tastes like grass?" He chuckled, leaning closer until his forehead rested against hers. "Grass or not, you're staying alive. And that's all that matters to me." Her voice softened. "You really mean that, don't you?" "Every damn word," he said. For the first time in months, Maya smiled without fear. And in that tiny hospital room, under the harsh fluorescent lights, hope didn't just flicker, it blazed. But as they stepped into this new chapter, one question hung in the air. When love starts from a lie, can it still end in forever? Things were finally good again. Too good. Maya was getting stronger, smiling more, even teasing Taylor the way she used to. Their morning walks had turned into little adventures, grabbing coffee, people watching, laughing about tourists. For the first time, Taylor wasn't thinking about business meetings or deals. He was thinking about her. Only her. But peace never lasts forever. Not when secrets are still hiding in the shadows. It started with a visit from Eric. Taylor hadn't seen him in weeks, but one afternoon the elevator doors opened, and there he was. His trademark grin and that same smug energy that used to amuse Taylor, but now just felt off. "King?" Eric said, strolling in like he owned the place. "You've gone soft, man. I barely recognized you without a phone glued to your hand." Taylor sighed, motioning for him to sit. "Make it quick, Eric. Maya's resting." Eric smirked. "Oh, Maya. She's the real deal, huh? Who would have thought a little bet could change your life like this?" Taylor's blood froze. "Eric," he warned quietly. Too late. Maya had stepped into the room. She'd heard every word. Her eyes darted between them, confusion tightening her expression. What did he just say? Taylor stood. Heart hammering. "Maya, it's not what it sounds like." Eric looked stunned, realizing what he'd done. "Oh, hell. What bet?" Maya demanded, her voice trembling but fierce. Taylor hesitated. He'd planned to tell her. Someday. But not like this. "It started as a stupid competition," he admitted finally. "Eric bet me I couldn't marry someone who wasn't my type. It was $5 million, Eric muttered under his breath. Maya's face went pale. "You married me for money?" Taylor took a step toward her. "Maya, no. It wasn't about that. Not anymore. It started as a bet, yes, but then she cut him off, voice sharp and raw. Then what? You realized you could win and look like a hero? Maya, I swear to you. Don't. Her eyes shimmered with tears. Don't stand there and act like this is love when it started as a damn game. Taylor reached out, desperate. It became real. You became real. Maya, I love you. But she stepped back, shaking her head. No, you don't get to use that word, not with me. And just like that, she turned and walked away, leaving Taylor standing in the middle of his penthouse, surrounded by everything money could buy, and realizing none of it mattered anymore. Taylor thought losing the bet would hurt, but watching Maya walk out the door was the kind of loss money could never fix. The sound of the door slamming echoed through the penthouse like a gunshot. Taylor just stood there, frozen, staring at the empty space where Maya had been. His mind replayed her last words, each one like a knife carving straight through his chest. He'd faced losing deals, friends, even reputation. But this was different. This was loss in its rawest form. For the next few days, he barely functioned. The penthouse felt colder, emptier than it ever had before. Her coffee mug still sat on the counter. Her sweater hung over the back of the couch. Every little thing screamed her name. Eric tried to call, to apologize, but Taylor ignored him. The damage was done. Finally, after 3 days of silence, he got in his car and drove. No plan, no destination. His only thought, find her. He started at her apartment, empty. He called the community center. She hasn't been in since last week, they told him. He even called her mom, who wasn't exactly thrilled to hear his voice. She doesn't want to see you, Mr. King, her mother said firmly. She trusted you. You broke that. Taylor gripped the phone, voice breaking. Please, I just need to make it right. The line went quiet, then clicked dead. That night, he sat alone on the balcony with a glass of water instead of whiskey. The skyline stretched out before him, but for the first time it didn't look like victory. It looked like regret. He thought about the way she laughed, the way she'd roll her eyes when he tried to flirt, the way she'd fight him on everything but still reach for his hand when she was scared. It hit him then. Maya hadn't just changed his habits. She'd changed him. The next morning, Taylor showed up at the community center himself. The staff recognized him instantly. His expensive coat, his desperate eyes. She's not here, one of them said softly. But if you really want to help her, maybe stop chasing her and start understanding why she left. That line stuck with him. He spent the next week doing what Maya would have done, volunteering, listening to the stories of the families she helped. For once, he wasn't Taylor King the billionaire. He was just a guy trying to figure out how to be decent. And slowly, it hit him. This was the man she'd believed he could be. Taylor was finally learning how to love the way Maya deserved. But the question was, would she ever let him prove it? 2 weeks. That's how long it had been since Maya walked out. 2 weeks of silence. 2 weeks of sleepless nights. 2 weeks of Taylor realizing just how empty life felt without her. He hadn't called. He hadn't begged. Instead, he'd done something completely out of character. He listened to the people she cared about. He started showing up at the community center every morning, not as the rich guy trying to buy redemption, but as a man who wanted to understand what mattered to her. At first, everyone was skeptical. The volunteers whispered, the staff side-eyed him, and one older woman even asked, "You lost a bet, didn't you?" He didn't deny it. "Yeah," he said with a small smile. "And it was the best loss of my life." He mopped floors, stacked boxes of canned goods, handed out meals, and listened to stories that humbled him to his core. He saw how Maya treated these people. With respect, not pity. And for the first time, he realized money could solve problems, but compassion could heal them. A few days later, Maya finally showed up. She froze the moment she saw him, hair tied back, wearing her worn gray sweater, eyes cautious. Taylor, standing there in jeans and a t-shirt, holding a stack of donated blankets, looked different. Softer. Real. Gentle. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice guarded. He turned, meeting her gaze. "Helping," he said simply. "Why?" "Because this matters to you," he said. "And if it matters to you, it matters to me." Maya crossed her arms, still defensive. "You think showing up for a few volunteer shifts fixes everything?" "No," he admitted. "But it's a start. I can't undo what I did, but I can learn from it." She studied him, trying to find the arrogance that used to hang on every word he said, but it wasn't there. "You really changed," she whispered, almost to herself. Taylor gave a small smile. "You changed me. You made me want to be someone who deserves you." Maya's eyes filled with tears, and for a second, she almost reached for him. But then she stopped. "Change is easy to say, Taylor. Harder to prove." He nodded. "Then I'll prove it. Every damn day, if I have to." The silence between them wasn't angry anymore. It was hopeful, fragile, real. Well, Maya walked away from a man she couldn't trust, but now she was standing in front of one who might finally be worth believing in. After that first meeting at the community center, Maya couldn't stop thinking about him. She tried. God knows she tried. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw Taylor handing out food, helping the kids with their reading, laughing with the volunteers. Not the billionaire she'd once called arrogant, but a man trying to be better. Still, she kept her guard up. The heart he'd broken wasn't ready to trust the same man who'd lied to her, no matter how genuine his apology sounded. Over the next few weeks, they saw each other often. She'd walk into the center and find him already there, hair a mess, sleeves rolled up, helping unpack supplies. "Morning, boss," he'd say with that playful grin. She'd roll her eyes, fighting a smile. "You don't work here, Taylor." "Then fire me," he'd shoot back. Truth was, she couldn't. He was too good at making himself useful, and at breaking down the walls she'd built around her heart. One evening, as the sun dipped low over the city, Maya found him sweeping the center's hallway. It was almost funny. This man who once paid people to do everything for him now, cleaning floors without complaint. "You don't have to keep doing this," she said quietly. Taylor straightened up, leaning on the broom. "Yeah, I do." "Why?" she asked. He looked at her then. Really looked. "Because the man who made that bet doesn't deserve you. But maybe the man who's standing here now could, one day." Maya's throat tightened. She wanted to be angry, to remind him of everything he'd done wrong. But the fire in his eyes wasn't arrogance anymore. It was sincerity. "You hurt me, Taylor," she whispered. "I know," he said softly. "And I'll spend as long as it takes making up for it. I don't want the bet. I don't want the money. I just want you." Her eyes glistened. "You can't fix everything with words." He nodded. "Then I'll use actions." And he did. Every single day after that he showed up. Rain or shine, sick or tired. He stopped trying to win her back with grand gestures. Instead, he helped where he could, stayed quiet when she needed space, and smiled when she finally started to laugh again. It wasn't about the bet anymore. It was about redemption and real love. Maya was starting to believe in him again. But just when their hearts began to heal, fate had one more twist waiting for them both. Life had settled into something almost peaceful again. Taylor still showed up every morning at the community center, always first to arrive, last to leave. He and Maya weren't together, not officially, but the air between them hummed with something unspoken. They talked more, laughed more. Sometimes, she'd catch him looking at her like she was the only person in the world, and for a second, she'd forget the hurt. Then she'd remember, and the wall went back up. One crisp fall afternoon, Maya was organizing boxes of winter coats for families in need when Dr. Grace Lee showed up. "Maya, I was hoping I'd find you here." Taylor, who'd been helping a kid with his homework, looked up instantly. "Duh, everything okay?" Dr. Lee smiled, holding a folder. "More than okay. Maya, your latest tests are incredible. Your blood pressure, heart rate, all your vitals, they're normal. Completely normal. Completely normal." Maya blinked. "Normal? As in?" "S in healthy," Dr. Lee said warmly. "You did it, Maya. Your heart functions back to baseline. You're out of the danger zone." Taylor grinned so hard it almost hurt. "You hear that? You're officially indestructible." Maya covered her mouth with her hand, tears welling up. I don't even know what to say." "Say you're proud of yourself," the doctor said. "Because you should be." Taylor stepped closer, his voice soft but full of emotion. "You fought like hell, Maya. I'm proud of you." For the first time in forever, she let him hold her. It wasn't about romance. It was about relief. About two people who had been to hell and made it back. But just as hope filled the air, Dr. Lee hesitated. "There's one more thing," she said carefully. Maya's smile faltered. "What kind of thing?" "It's nothing bad," Dr. Lee said quickly. "Actually, it's good. Your recovery's so strong, Maya, that a research program in California wants to feature you as part of a national awareness campaign. 6 months out west. Fully funded. You'd be speaking, mentoring, helping other women like you." Maya's breath caught. 6 months? In California? Taylor's smile faded. "That's, across the country." Dr. Lee nodded. "It's a huge opportunity, but it's your choice." Maya looked at Taylor, torn between the life she'd rebuilt and the man who helped her do it. Maya's heart had finally healed, but now she had to decide whether to follow her future or the man who taught her how to live again. Maya couldn't stop thinking about Dr. Lee's words. California. 6 months. A chance to inspire people, to make her struggle mean something more than pain. It was everything she'd ever wanted before Taylor. That night, she sat on the balcony, city lights glittering beneath her. Taylor joined her quietly, 2 mugs of chamomile tea in hand. "You've been quiet," he said, sitting beside her. "Wanna tell me what's going on in that head of yours?" Maya sighed, staring at the skyline. "Dr. Lee told me about the program in California." He nodded slowly. "Yeah, big deal, huh?" "More like a once-in-a-lifetime deal," she said softly. "They want me to speak to women who are struggling like I was. Share my story." "That's huge," Taylor said with a proud smile. "You deserve that, Maya." She turned to him, her voice fragile. "It's 6 months, Taylor, across the country." His smile faded just a little, but he covered it with a sip of tea. "You gotta do it." Her eyes widened. "Just like that, you're okay with me leaving?" He let out a quiet laugh, the kind that didn't reach his eyes. "Not even close to okay. But I can't be the reason you don't chase something you were born to do." "Taylor," she whispered. He looked at her then, really looked. "You fought your way back to life, Maya. Don't stop now just because I finally figured out how to be a decent man." Her throat tightened. "You make it sound easy." "It's not," he admitted. "It's gonna suck. But love isn't about locking someone down. It's about letting them be who they're meant to be, even if it means they have to go." Maya blinked back tears, his words hitting harder than she expected. This wasn't the selfish, arrogant billionaire she'd once known. This was a man who finally understood love without conditions. She reached for his hand, their fingers lacing together. "You changed, Taylor King." He smiled faintly. "Guess you were a good investment." That made her laugh through her tears. "You're impossible." I'm yours, he said softly. Even if you're 3,000 miles away. She rested her head on his shoulder, both of them staring out at the glittering city. For the first time, silence didn't mean distance. It meant peace. Maya's heart was finally whole. But leaving would test whether love built on redemption could survive the miles between them. 2 weeks later, the airport felt like another kind of battlefield. Maya stood by the gate, clutching her ticket, trying to stay composed while the loudspeaker called out boarding groups. Taylor stood beside her, hands in his pockets, that confident look gone, replaced by something raw and real. "You sure you packed enough?" he asked, trying to sound casual. She smiled softly. "You asked me that 3 times already." He grinned weakly. "Yeah, well, just making sure." Neither of them knew what to say next. They'd spent the last few nights pretending everything was normal, cooking dinner, watching movies, talking about nothing important. But now the goodbye was right in front of them. When the boarding call echoed through the terminal, Maya exhaled shakily. "Guess that's me?" Taylor nodded, forcing a smile. "Go make them listen, Maya Brown. Tell your story. Change the world." She looked up at him, her voice trembling. "You'll still be here when I come back, right?" He stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You couldn't get rid of me if you tried." She laughed through the tears. "You know, for a guy who used to think emotions were a weakness, you're really bad at hiding yours now." "Yeah," he said softly. "You broke me in the best way." They hugged, long and tight. The kind of hug that said everything words couldn't. When she finally pulled away, she looked into his eyes and whispered, "Don't forget me, Taylor King." He smiled sadly. "Forget you? You're the reason I started remembering who I am." She turned before she could change her mind, walking toward the gate without looking back. Taylor watched her go until she disappeared down the jet bridge, and only then did he let the tears fall. The months that followed were hard. Maya's days were packed with interviews, panels, and speaking events. Her story inspired thousands. People called her a fighter, a miracle. But at night, when the cameras were off, she'd check her phone and reread his texts. "Miss you. Still drinking terrible smoothies for solidarity. You'd laugh at how bad my cooking's gotten. Proud of you. Always." Back in New York, Taylor kept his promise. He stayed steady, stayed faithful, stayed hers, even from afar. They were miles apart, but somehow they'd never been closer. What neither of them expected was how fate would pull them back together. Sooner, and in a way, neither saw coming. 6 months passed faster than either of them expected, but not a single day went by that Taylor didn't think about her. He'd wake up and still make 2 cups of coffee out of habit. He'd glance at the empty spot on the couch where she used to curl up with her laptop. He'd walk through the penthouse and swear he could still hear her laughter echoing off the walls. Maya's trip had changed her. He could see it in every interview, every article. Her smile was brighter, her eyes more confident. She was out there, living. And that's what he wanted most, even if it meant missing her like hell. One chilly morning in March, Taylor was in the middle of a board meeting when his phone buzzed. He glanced down and froze. Text from Maya. "You home?" His heart jumped. He didn't even answer. He just stood up, muttered something about an emergency, and bolted. When the elevator doors opened at the penthouse, he stopped dead in his tracks. There she was, standing in the middle of the living room, suitcase by her side, coat still on, smiling softly. "Maya," he breathed. "Hey, stranger," she said. He crossed the room in 3 long strides and pulled her into his arms. She didn't resist. They just held each other, breathing each other in like oxygen after too long underwater. "I thought you weren't coming back till next week," he said against her hair. She smiled into his chest. "I couldn't wait that long." He pulled back, studying her face. "You look happy." "I am," she said. "But there's something about this city, about you. It still feels like home." Taylor's throat tightened. "So, does this mean you're staying?" She hesitated, then nodded. "The program offered me a permanent position, but I turned it down. I realized I don't need to go across the world to make a difference. I can do that right here." He blinked, stunned. "You sure?" She grinned. "Yeah. Plus, someone's got to make sure you don't burn your kitchen down again." Taylor laughed, tears stinging his eyes. "You have no idea how much I missed you." Maya smiled, eyes soft. "I think I do." And then, for the first time since everything fell apart, she leaned in and kissed him. Slow, deep, and certain. It wasn't a beginning or an end. It was home. But just when Taylor thought life was finally complete, someone unexpected was about to walk back into their world and stir up the past he thought he'd buried for good. For a few blissful weeks, everything finally felt right. Taylor and Maya found a rhythm again. Slow mornings, shared dinners, laughter echoing through the penthouse like it used to. He still couldn't believe she was home, really home. But fate, as always, had one last curveball to throw. One afternoon, while Maya was at the community center, Taylor opened the door to find Eric standing there. No smirk, no swagger, just nerves. "Man," Taylor said flatly, crossing his arms, "you've got some nerve showing up here." "I know," Eric said quickly, "but I need 5 minutes. That's it." Taylor's jaw tightened, but he stepped aside. "You've got 4. Eric exhaled and stepped inside. "I came to tell you the truth, the real truth about that bet." Taylor's eyes narrowed. "What the hell do you mean? I already know it started with you being an idiot." Eric shook his head. "No, Taylor, I wasn't trying to humiliate you. I was trying to save you." Taylor froze. "Save me?" "Yeah," Eric said quietly. "You'd turned into someone I didn't recognize, man. Obsessed with money, control, women you didn't even like. You were hollow. I made that bet to wake you up." Taylor scoffed. "So I was your little self-improvement project." "Listen," Eric said, desperate now. "When I met Maya, months before I ever brought her up to you, I saw something in her. Strength, heart. She told me about her health problems, and I saw the way she'd already accepted the idea that her life was shrinking. She was giving up. And you—" Taylor frowned, the pieces falling into place. "You knew she was sick." Eric nodded. "I knew. Her mom told me. She was scared Maya wouldn't fight anymore. So I thought, crazy as it sounds, if I threw you two together, maybe you'd both wake the hell up." Taylor stared at him in disbelief. "You played God with our lives." "I did," Eric admitted. "And I'm sorry, but I'd do it again. Look at you. Look at her. You're both alive. You both found love. You can hate me if you want, but tell me I was wrong." Taylor sank into a chair, the anger draining out, replaced by something he couldn't name. Gratitude mixed with heartbreak. He finally muttered, "You're lucky she's too good to hate you." Eric smiled faintly. "Yeah, that woman saved both of us." But when Maya walked in and overheard the tail end of that confession, the truth hit her in a whole new way, and this time, forgiveness wouldn't come easy. Maya stood frozen in the doorway, grocery bags slipping from her hands as the last words echoed through the room. "That woman saved both of us." Both men turned at once. Taylor's face went pale. Eric's eyes widened. "Maya?" Taylor started, standing quickly. "It's not what it sounds like." She cut him off, voice shaking. "Don't. I've heard enough lies from this room to last me a lifetime." Eric took a step forward. "Maya, Please, let me explain. Explain what? She snapped. That my whole life was some kind of social experiment for two rich guys with egos the size of New York? Taylor tried to reach for her hand, but she backed away. Maya, it wasn't like that. I didn't know what Eric was planning. I swear to you. Oh, so that makes it better? Her voice cracked, anger and hurt twisting every word. You didn't know you were part of a setup? You just married a stranger for fun and money. My bad for thinking that was romantic. Eric lowered his head. Maya, I deserve the blame. I started it. I knew about your diagnosis. Your mom told me. Maya's face went white. My mom? He nodded, guilt in his voice. She was desperate. She thought maybe if someone made you feel wanted, you'd fight harder. She didn't think you'd say yes. Maya's hands trembled. So everyone around me thought I was some charity case? A project to fix? Taylor's voice broke. No, you weren't a project. You were the reason I changed. You're the reason I finally understood what love means. She turned on him, tears streaming down her face. You can't build love on manipulation, Taylor. You just can't. He stepped closer, eyes wet. You're right. You're completely right. But I swear on everything I have. What I feel now. What we have now. It's real. I didn't just fall in love with you, Maya. I became someone because of you. Maya looked between the two men, her chest heaving. The pain in her eyes was unbearable. Too much betrayal, too much truth. She whispered, I don't even know who to be angry at. You both played with my life. Eric's voice was small. And I'll live with that guilt forever. Maya grabbed her coat, her voice trembling. I need air. I can't look at either of you right now. The door shut behind her, leaving Taylor and Eric in silence. Two men surrounded by their own mistakes. Maya's world had shattered once before, but this time, the only person who could piece it back together was the same man who broke it. The cold night air hit Maya like a slap the moment she stepped outside. Her heart pounded, her vision blurred, and for a second she thought she might collapse right there on the sidewalk. But she didn't. She just kept walking, away from the penthouse, away from the lies, away from them. By the time she reached her mother's house, the city lights had started to fade into dawn. She stood on the porch for a long moment before knocking. The door creaked open, and her mother's tired face appeared. Maya? The moment their eyes met, all the anger she'd been holding and cracked open. You knew, Maya whispered, tears spilling. You knew what they did. Her mother's lip trembled. Baby, please, let me explain. Explain what? That you let two men gamble on my life like it was a reality show prize. Her mother's voice broke. I was scared, Maya. You were sick, and you were giving up. You stopped fighting, stopped living. I didn't know what else to do. When Eric came to me, I thought, maybe it was fate trying to save you. Maya turned away, shaking her head. You didn't save me, Mom. You sold me. The silence that followed was heavy and painful. Her mother finally whispered, and yet, you're alive. You're happy. You found love, even if it started wrong. Isn't that something? Maya froze. Love. The word felt different now. Wounded, complicated, but still, somehow, alive. She sat down at the kitchen table, staring at her hands. How do you forgive someone who lied to you for all the right reasons? Her mom came closer, placing a gentle hand over hers. By remembering what came after the lie, not just how it started. Maya's tears fell silently. She hated that her mother was right. Because despite the betrayal, despite the pain, Taylor had changed. He'd become kind, selfless, humble. He'd done everything he could to be the man she deserved. But could she really go back? Could she love him without resentment poisoning every word? Maya stood, wiping her tears. I just need time, she said softly. To think, to breathe. to remember who I am without all of this. Her mother nodded, eyes wet. Take all the time you need. Just don't close your heart to what's real. Outside, the first rays of morning light touched Maya's face. She inhaled deeply, for the first time in a long time, not as someone's project or miracle, but as herself. Maya finally found clarity. But while she searched for peace, Taylor was making one last plan to prove that love, built from brokenness, could still last forever. For days, Taylor couldn't eat, sleep, or think straight. Every hour without Maya felt like a punishment he deserved. He'd replayed that night over and over, the look on her face, the betrayal in her voice, and every time it gutted him a little more. Eric had stopped by again, trying to apologize, but Taylor didn't want to hear it. No more words, he said flatly. It's on me now. Because deep down, Taylor knew the truth. If he wanted Maya to ever look at him again without pain in her eyes, he had to show her that his love wasn't born from a bet, but from who he'd become since. So, he started with the only thing that ever mattered to her, the people. He threw himself into the community foundation they'd built together, the one that had been just an idea months ago. But this time, it wasn't for show. Taylor didn't slap his name on a building or hire a PR team. Instead, he rolled up his sleeves and worked side by side with everyone she cared about. He expanded the outreach program, funding free nutrition classes, health screenings, and scholarships in Maya's name, without telling her. The only message he left behind was a small engraved plaque at the center's entrance. Dedicated to the woman who taught me that love isn't a transaction, it's transformation. Meanwhile, Maya stayed with her mom, keeping her distance but unable to stay away from the world they'd built together. When the community center called to invite her to the grand reopening, she almost said no. But something, maybe curiosity, maybe hope, made her go. She arrived to find crowds of people, banners with her name, and laughter echoing through the halls. When she stepped inside, she froze. There, right at the front, was Taylor. No suit, no spotlight. Just him, holding a box of donated books, smiling nervously when he saw her. Maya, he said softly, walking over. Didn't think you'd come. I almost didn't, she admitted. But then I saw what you did. He glanced toward the plaque. It's the least I could do. You showed me what real love looks like. I just wanted to spend the rest of my life proving I learned the lesson. Her eyes filled with tears, but this time, they weren't from pain. They were from recognition. You really mean that, don't you? He nodded, voice trembling. Every word, every day, every breath. Maya had seen him lose, fall, and rebuild. But now, she had to decide if she was ready to take his hand and start again. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The noise of the community center faded until all Maya could hear was the soft thud of her heartbeat and Taylor's shaky breath. He wasn't the billionaire who made a reckless bet anymore. He was a man stripped bare, waiting for the woman he loved to decide if he was worth forgiving. Maya stepped closer. You know, for months I hated that bet, she said quietly. It made me feel small, like my life was just someone's challenge. Taylor swallowed hard. It was wrong. I was wrong. But then, her voice softened. I realized something. That bet might have started everything, but it didn't define what came after. We did. He blinked, disbelief flickering across his face. Maya, are you saying what I think you're saying? She smiled through her tears. I'm saying I forgive you, not because what you did was okay, but because holding on to the anger hurts more than letting it go. And because despite everything, you're the person I fell in love with. The real you, not the man who made the bet. Taylor let out a shaky laugh, his eyes wet. You have no idea how long I've been waiting to hear that. She took his hand, lacing her fingers through his. I don't want perfect, Taylor. I just want honest. No more lies, no more pride. Just us, messy, real, and trying. He nodded, voice breaking. Deal. This time, no contracts, no bets, just forever. The crowd around them, quiet until now, burst into applause. Someone yelled, "About damn time!" And Maya laughed through her tears, leaning up to kiss him. It wasn't the kind of kiss that screamed victory. It was the kind that whispered peace. The kind that said we made it. Months later, the two of them stood outside the same courthouse where it all began. Only this time, there was no audience, no wager, just vows written on scrap paper and hearts that had learned the hard way what love really costs. As they exchanged rings, Taylor whispered, "You know what the funny part is?" Maya smiled. "What?" "I lost the bet, but I still won everything that mattered." She laughed, resting her forehead against his. "Then let's keep losing together." And as the city roared around them, sometimes losing the game isn't failure, it's fate. Because in the end, the biggest win of all is finding the one who makes you want to play for keeps.